Hello, I'm James Polk. I'm the Director of Data and Assessment, and today I'm going to be teaching you about iOn Analytics, what it is, and how it can help you in your role in our schools. So about iOn, iOn is a way that is going to help us interpret student data. And so in the past, you've had to go to Kite to look up state assessment data. You've had to go to PowerSchool in order to look at attendance and behavior. And if you wanted to see FastBridge data, you would go to FastBridge. And if you wanted to see SRSS, you would go to something called the T drive. Well, now iOn is taking all of those data points that we find important in Lawrence Public Schools and putting it in one place. And so as we kind of go through today, I'm going to be giving you foundational information in order to get you started in iOn, and that is looking at student profiles. Student profiles are what you're going to look at when you're looking at individual students to give you a full picture of who that student is. We're also going to spend some time looking at data walls. Data walls are kind of like spreadsheets, except they're dynamic. They're going to update with the student's most the newest and best information, so they're way better than spreadsheets. And we're also going to look at dashboards, and these are visual representations for the data of either a whole school or a whole class or group of students. So as we get started, you need to know how to navigate to iOn. If you are on your Go page, everyone has iOn K through 12 as a tile on their Go page, and if you don't, you can search it in the search bar up top. But when you click on iOn K12, it's going to take you to their login page, and you need to sign in with Google. Once you land inside of iOn, you're going to be on their dashboards page. And on the dashboards page, you're going to start seeing a list of students that are rostered to you. Here's something important that you need to know about iOn. You are only going to see students that are rostered to you. So our certified teachers are going to see the students rostered to them in PowerSchool. Our classified teachers are only going to see students that have sections and rostered to them in PowerSchool. That's a really important distinction. You're going to have building-wide access to data if you have building-wide access to data in FastBridge. So our counselors, our social workers, our deans, our interventionists, our learning coaches are all going to have that building-wide data. But for our certified staff, it is who is rostered to you in PowerSchool. So if there's issues with the students you are seeing, you need to be communicating with your admin assistant because those students are not rostered to you. So when we are on our student page, you're going to notice that a lot of this information looks blank, and that is because for this 25-26 school year, we have not taken a FastBridge assessment. We've not taken attendance. We don't have an SRSSIE total. So as we start taking these assessments, this information will start populating in. The first thing we're going to look at for you to understand iOn is the student profile. So you can search for students in the search bar at the top. You can start typing in a student's name, or you can select a student from the list of students on this page. And so when I click into a student, I'm immediately going to see their student profile. And so for this student profile, it's going to show me the student, it's going to show me gender, race, ethnicity, it's going to show me student ID, it's going to show me if they have SPED or ELL services. So this is kind of our one-stop shop. As these things, we start getting those data points, these tiles at the top are going to start populating with information, and then this hexagon off to the side, you'll start seeing risk levels come up. So when you click into a student profile, you'll start being able to assess really quickly where the student is excelling and where they might have some risk factors. So when we're in the student profile, on the left-hand side, there are different tabs. So today we're going to start by going through the tabs that we are going to utilize. So the first is the Assessments tab. Inside the Assessments tab, you can see the assessments that this student has taken. If I wanted to look specifically at their early reading scores, I could look at those early reading scores over time. I could also look at the percentile that that student is scoring in and toggle between those two things. So here is their FastBridge data. We could even, if we wanted to, look at their attendance or their SRSSIE data over time. And what's nice about this is all of these things are clickable. You can click in and see what this was, what their score was. So that is attendance assessment data. On the left-hand side, if we want to toggle to another tab, we can look at their attendance data. And so you'll notice that in 25 and 26, we don't have a lot of attendance data, but if I scroll backwards to 24, 25, I'm going to be able to look at the students' attendance data by term, their heat map, their year-to-date attendance rate, which is really beneficial, and then their attendance rate by month and day of the week. So again, now we're getting all of this data in one place. I just looked at their assessment data. I'm now looking at their attendance data. I can also, on the left, toggle to their behavior data. So now I'm seeing how many major and how many minor events they had on the year and when those occurred. I'm also able to see by resolution type. Has a student, I don't know, been suspended this year? That would be valuable information for me. Events by location and the types of events. So this is really important, teachers, as you are inputting behaviors into PowerSchool. So when a behavior event occurs, we want to make sure more than ever that we're entering in as much information as possible, because we now have a way to interpret that data in a really easy way inside of iOn. So if we start recording those locations a little bit more accurately, our administrators can start looking at it and say, you know, we had a lot of events outside the bathroom. So maybe we need to revisit what are behaviors, desired behaviors outside and inside of the restroom. So something to note, you are seeing the behavior data here. That does not mean you are inputting the behavior data here. All of our input data still is in PowerSchool, but you can now see the data inside of iOn, and it syncs every night. If you have building-wide access, you would be able to see the behavior types and click into these to see the descriptions. Again, that would be the information that's input inside of PowerSchool that then carries over inside of iOn. Another tab on the left-hand side is grades. At the elementary level, you know, we're not going to look at grades too much since we only input them at the end of each semester. At the middle and high school levels, please note these grades are not going to be live. They are going to be historical grades. So if you're looking at them in the fall, they will be the end of the spring semester's grades, so the most recent term. You'll also notice there's an MTSS tab. Inside the MTSS tab, any skills the student is being progress monitored on inside of FastBridge will carry over into iOn. And what's cool about this is these are all clickable, so you can come into these and see exactly how this student is doing over time. You can also make sure you can see the progress over time. There's a tab called Case Management. Later on, we'll go over GEI inside of iOn and how that is going to change the way that we do and track things for students. You can see that this student was referred to GEI at the end of last school year. He's still in progress. And you'd be able to see when the last meeting was, if a new meeting is scheduled, and if you click into this link, you'd be able to see all of their behavior or their GEI meeting notes, as well as any tasks or documents in addition to that. So pretty cool. We've got one place for all of this information. You'll notice that there are other things on the left-hand side that you can toggle to. A couple of things to just keep in mind as you're looking at these. Number one, we're probably not going to use a lot of those extra ones on the side yet inside of iOn, because our input data still is inside of PowerSchool. So if you're making parent contacts or major boundary behaviors, you're still logging that inside of PowerSchool. It's going to carry into iOn so we can interpret it. But the other piece to this is iOn is not as secure as PowerSchool. So if I was a counselor and I wanted to if I wanted to document that I did a suicide risk assessment on a student, if I put it in iOn as a note, anybody that's rostered to, that student is rostered to would be able to see that note. And that is not something that we want, because that's sensitive student information. A counselor would want to continue to log that inside of PowerSchool where there are permissions around those counselor logs. But if a student really likes SpongeBob SquarePants and responded really well to positive behavior supports, then you could make a note in here, and this is going to carry with the student. So that's another powerful thing about iOn, is let's say you have a student going from one elementary in town to another. All of the information inside of iOn will transfer with that student. So you'll have all of their GEI notes, all of the interventions that they have in FastBridge will all carry over into this system, which is really nice. So think about 5th to 6th grade, 8th to 9th grade as well. iOn is going to follow our students, which is a really, really powerful tool. So that is student profiles. Next up, we're going to talk about data walls.